Well, good morning, all. Thank you very much for having me here. It's just a great pleasure. And I actually am a sir. I've been knighted in two different organizations. The main organization is the Sacred Medical Order of the Knights of Hope and the Hospitaller Order of St. Lazarus of Jerusalem. These come from a 1,000-year tradition. We predate all governments of the world, so I practice out of the jurisdiction of the AMA and the FDA. So if anybody's interested on how to protect themselves, you have to be invited in. It's medical, and we have dentists, doctors, chiropractors, a lot of different kinds of holistic health and biological health. So if you're being harassed by any dental boards, please talk to me, because we can help people, and we can get you out of that jurisdiction. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Am I on? Whoa. Whoops, how do I get that off of there? Yeah. A little background on this has been a labor of love, what I've done here. And is there a clock somewhere that's got a time or something, so I'll be able to, there's no big clocks anywhere around. So if anybody can make, okay, Gerald, so I speak till 10, correct? So maybe at 9:30, just give me a buzz so I know where I am. Okay. This has been a labor of love for me. It started out in 2011, January, when Stephen Hawking, you've all heard of Stephen Hawking? The smartest guy in the world, right? He's in the wheelchair, ALS. I don't care how smart he is, he's still wrong. So anyway, he came out with his book called The Grand Design in 2011, January. And the premise of the entire book is you do not need God for the creation of the universe. Well, so he's a great scientist. He took Einstein's work, taken it to the extreme, and he created all of these things that we see about black holes in the expanding universe and pulsars and all kinds of things. Well, someone needed to write something or to do something against that. My background, I'm one of those educated guys. I have 3 doctorates. I have a doctorate in medicine. I have a doctorate in science, naturopathic medicine also. I studied chiropractic and osteopathic in Israel, Ayurvedic medicine in a temple in the Himalayan mountains in India, Chinese medicine in Sri Lanka, physical therapy in Amsterdam, and I lived in a teepee 2 years studying with the Indians. So I've also, with a name like Eliezer Ben-Joseph, it's not Irish, okay? I'm an Orthodox Jewish kid, raised Orthodox Jewish. I come from an unbroken line of rabbis to the 15th century. My father is the first person to break the line. My father was a devout atheist, if those two words go together. And my grandfather was an Orthodox Jewish rabbi. Well, since my father rejected religion completely, I was to be the rabbi. So I was taken out of public school, lived with my grandfather, and went to yeshiva to become a rabbi. At my 13th birthday, my father said, "You want to be a rabbi or go back to public school?" Don't ask a 13-year-old. What the hell do we know? Nothing. So I went back to public school. Anyway, what happened is I was born and raised in L.A. I graduated high school in 1966. I'm an old guy, okay? But what was happening in L.A. in the 60s? I still have my ponytail. Anyway, it was peace, love, flowers, Joni Mitchell, drug, sex, rock and roll. I mean, that's what we did back then. But we were going to change the world. It's not like today. We were going to bring peace, love, and harmony to the world. By the way, it didn't happen. So now all our hippie friends grew up to become executives in insurance companies and banks and all of that. And what happened to that wonderful philosophy? So anyway, I was at a party. There's free drugs. And there's a big bowl. And everybody, very polite, takes one or two. And I'm going, hey, man, it's free. Take a handful. Turned out to be strychnine. Even back then, someone sells bad drugs. So I remember going through a long, dark tunnel. It exploded in white light. And there I am, floating on the ceiling, looking down at my own body. And I'm talking to myself, looking down, and I'm talking just like I'm talking now. Is that real? And I'm looking down and I'm going, shit, you stupid, you're dead. And I'm looking at my body down there and I'm thinking, Mom and Dad are going to be pissed. And then I'm going, no, they're going to be upset. I'm dead. And I'm floating on the ceiling, wondering what I'm going to do. And a guy appears next to me, grabbed me by the hand, and we reappeared in a big hall. And in the center of the hall is this table with 25 people sitting around this table. And here comes my grandfather down the corridor who had died a year and a half previous. I knew I was dead. I knew he was dead. And I was radically ashamed. Here's this table with 25 people sitting around it. What are they going to do? What's my grandfather going to do? Introduce me? Hi, this is my grandson. He was going to be a rabbi, but he's dead on drugs. So I was ashamed. I felt rotten. My grandfather saying, don't worry, don't worry. He takes me over to the table. Now remember, I'm an Orthodox Jewish kid. No, that's my background. And who does he introduce me to? He introduced me to Jesus Christ. Hello, Grandpa, what are you doing? And why would you be introducing me to Jesus Christ? And he said, just listen. What was I going to say? No. It's like, okay. I turned around and I shook Christ's hand. And I'll never forget, because at the time I thought it was funny. He says to me, Eliezer, don't worry, I'm Jewish. And I went, oh yeah, I forgot. So I got to sit at this table for 4 hours. And told me about my life and this and what and all of this. It's a long story, 4 hours. So anyway, I said, okay. Finally, they gave me permission to come back. I reappeared on the ceiling. There's a long story how I got back, but I reappear on the ceiling. I look down at my body, and I start floating down to get into my body. Now, at one point, I just have to say this because it was so funny. I'm this far above my body looking in my own eyes. And I freaked out. I thought I was going in backwards. And I thought, oh, shit, I'm going to be walking backwards my whole life. I'm serious. You don't know what you're thinking when things. Anyway, I turned over, and it's like you fell into your body. And I sat up real quick, and I went, oh, my head, oh. And all of a sudden, I hear this yelling and screaming behind me. And there's these nurses screaming and yelling. I had been brought in to the hospital, Santa Monica Hospital, San Vicente and Wilshire, if any of you know L.A., 4 hours previous. I was downstairs in the morgue, lying on a metal gurney with a tag on my big toe, and they were just getting ready to start an autopsy. I'm so glad I came in before they started. I hate when that happens. It's just really... So anyway, when this whole thing came out with Stephen Hawking and this battle for God and science, and you hear everywhere that God is unnecessary, that I was overwhelmed. And I said, who better to counteract Stephen Hawking than someone with a doctorate in science, from an Orthodox Jewish background, religious, and a clinically dead for 4 hours, knowing that there is a hierarchy and there is no death. So that's what prompted me to put this together. Now, you've all been to conferences before, correct? And you've all seen people doing lectures, and you'll see up on the screen maybe a bunch of paragraphs, and you're trying to write notes, and like lots and lots of bullet points, or a page that's been copied. I've hated those kind of lectures because you're trying to take notes. So this is totally visual. I want you to sit back, and you're going to take a journey through space and my microscope and history. And there's a lot of ways to prove God and science. And this one happens to be that I did on cosmology and the patterns that exist throughout the universe. I could have just as well done it on embryology or genetics. As an example, ask any geneticist to ask how we got Fox gene 3, or have any geneticist describe human chromosome number 2. It cannot. So there's ways that we can look at evolution. I could have used that. But this first one ended up being 6 hours and about 53 minutes. So I cut it down to 3 hours and 47 minutes. And this is even cut down to that, so it's just, but we have a DVD that's available, and it's all scripted, so it's not going to be just me like this. It's scripted very well, and it runs through 3 hours and 47 minutes, and it has 2 or 3 intermissions in it so that you can stop and listen. And so it's my labor of love to the world. And so, without further ado, the first couple slides that I like are kind of set the stage for my philosophy. And I have to point this. Yeah, okay, here. So I have a radio show. It's been on 20 years. And it's on KTSM Talk Radio, Clear Channel. But it streams all over the world. So you can always call in with a question. It's live. The telephone number's on there. If you ever have an announcement or something and you want a lot of people to know about it, please don't hesitate. If you have a conference or something coming up, if it's biological, if it's natural, if it's something that we like to present. And sometimes I am very brutal to the medical profession. I mean brutal. Medical profession has come after me a number of times, and as far as I know, I'm one of the only ones that have ever beaten the Texas Medical Board. Brutally. I mean, so they finally sent me a letter saying, we're sorry, we won't bother you anymore, please don't tell anybody. So, anyway, you can use it. My website also has about 30,000 plus articles. And if it's on nutrition, diet, exercise, meditation, biological dentistry, psychology, herb, vitamin, mineral, if it's on from a reputable journal, I have 30,000. So it's a very big resource, and you can use it as a resource. NaturalSolutionsRadio.com. It's all, Gerald, how is it? So they can just search one word? It's a tagged, so every word, there's certain keywords that you can look up any single art and it'll come up with all the articles. There's also about 2,000 hours of radio interviews and radio shows, and it's all free. I have kept it all free, so you can listen. And it's every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. So let me just go. This is on the back of my card. Learning is finding out what you already know. Doing is demonstrating that you know it. Teaching is reminding others that they know just as well as you. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it was a great book. You know, Richard Bach. You all read that, correct, in the earlier days? So it was a wonder, and I like that. This whole lecture, I want you to think. I want to present things to you that you probably have not heard or not known, and I want you to think about what we're talking about. This is Rodin, and it's a wonderful statue, the thinker, and somebody's calling me on my phone. You've got to be kidding. Never mind. Anyway, you're going to hear a lot of things. A wise man changes his mind, a fool never. So be wise. When you learn something new, incorporate it into your life. You are responsible for only one body, one mind, and one spirit. And if you don't take responsibility for all that happens to you, someone or something will. I learned 2 things when I was in that death experience, 2, that were the most important. Number 1, you are your brother's keeper. And number two, your body is a living temple and you have to treat it as such or you pay the consequences. Everything else is commentary. And so those two things. This is my overall philosophical instructions for enlightenment. And I love this. Watch your thoughts. They become your words. Watch your words. They become your actions. Watch your actions. They become your habits. And watch your habits. They become your character. And watch your character. It becomes your destiny. Right now, there's two paths going on in science in the entire world. You have math-based science and you have empirical science. Empirical science are what we are all used to because you can measure it, you can look at it, you can test it, you can do experiments, you can make assumptions and see whether those assumptions come true or not. Okay, mathematical-based science is just that. It's all math. But remember, math proved back at the turn of the century that bumblebees cannot fly. Math proved that a human cannot run faster than a 5-minute mile. So you have to be very careful with math and statistics. But right now they're using it, and they're using Stephen Hawking, his book, because they're going after anything that has to do with God-based or energy-based medicine that we all know. And they're using it to become more and more secular. And so we have to fight back. But this is what this lecture is based on. That I decided to do it on the cosmology and the 4 principles that all of science are based on. These 4 principles are what the foundation of all forms of science. And it comes from Einstein and relativity. Number 1 is that gravity rules the universe. That's according to Einstein. Now remember, if I prove any one of these wrong, then the entire assumption of Stephen Hawking is wrong. So all I have to do, I'm going to prove that all 4 of these are wrong. And there's 2 forms of science in physics right now in the world. You have regular mathematical statistical physics, and then you have what's called the electric universe, or the electric cosmology of understanding of energy. So number 1, according to Einstein, gravity rules the universe. But let me ask you, when Einstein did his theories in 1904, how much did they know about electricity? Someone, it's okay to speak up, I don't mind. Not much. So they knew about gravity. Well, gravity does not rule the universe. It is plasma and electromagnetism. Number 2, space is a vacuum. There is no ether. How many of you have heard of Nikola Tesla? Have you heard that name? So Nikola Tesla was pre-Einstein, actually one of his teachers. And they argued all the time because Einstein said space is a complete vacuum and that everything is just floating in space and has a neutral electrical charge. And that what they talk about, the ethers, not ether the gas, but the ethers, the primary matrix that holds the entire universe together. Well, according to Einstein, there was an experiment, you'll see Michelson and Morley in 1884, that proved there was no ether, so that the universe is a vacuum. Well, we say, and it's been proven now, complete, late 90s, 2000s, ether exists, they're measuring it. We now know that the ethers, make up an electromagnetic matrix that's throughout the entire universe, and it's holographic, and it carries information. Now, when something carries information, it implies intelligence. Where did the information come from? Number 3, the speed of light. Nothing travels faster. And now we know that's not true, and I'm going to show you photographs of, as an example, Galaxy M82 that's moving sideways from Earth at 4 times the speed of light. And it's 25,000 miles away, 25,000 light years, and it's moving towards us at 90% of the speed of light. But it'll take a long time to get here. So we now know that there are particles that travel that only exist past the speed of light. And then the last thing is Hubble's constant, or the expansion of the universe. And that's the premise, the Big Bang, the expansion of the universe. But when you look at plasma cosmology and the electric universe, and you plug electricity into all of the mathematics, which none of them are doing, all of these things disappear. They disappear and they leave an informational matrix throughout the universe. Now, how many of you have played guitar? Ever played a guitar? So someone that plays guitar, let me ask you a question. Here's the string from here to here. Someone plucks the string. Does the sound move from where you pluck it outward to each end, or is the entire string vibrate simultaneously from end to end? Who knows? Someone who plays guitar? It's okay to guess. It's the entire string vibrates when you move it. Well, we now know then that something that happens on this side, right here, on an atomic structure, it can also simultaneously be across the universe. It's holographic. So, here's Stephen Hawking, the grand design. He says you don't need God for the creation of the universe because there's a law such as gravity. The universe can and will create itself from nothing. There is no heaven or afterlife. That is a fairy story for people who are afraid of the dark. Well, I don't care how smart he is. He's wrong. And nobody says that. But right now you have this battle. It's in Time magazine, or was. Now there's books written about it. And this is from Timothy. For the time will come when men will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. This statement is more applicable to biological dentistry than anything. How is it that the dentists of today, those in power, can still maintain that mercury is okay? They are on purpose. This is not that they think it's okay and science. They know it's dangerous. They are on purpose lying. To me, it's criminal. And yet they're in charge. So, this is atheism, my definition, because nothing is real. Nothing, there's no. So the belief in atheism, this is the belief that there was nothing. And nothing happened to nothing. Then nothing magically exploded for no reason, creating everything. And then a bunch of everything magically rearranged itself for no reason whatsoever into self-replicating bits, which turned into dinosaurs, continuing to replicate, and here we are. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Of course. So, I'm here to say that you can't get something from nothing. There is no Big Bang. There are no black holes. All of that is nonsense. It's mathematical imagery. That's all it is. Then, it all started when we used to look up in the sky. We'd see and I'm going to run through these faster. What time is it, just so I know how we're doing? 8:45. So, okay. So, we all looked up in the universe, and we looked up and saw the sky. And by the way, I have never seen stars. I was born blind, and I have no rods in my eye, so I have never seen. Below a certain level of darkness, I can't see. So I've never seen. People look up and saw this, even when I was a kid in camp, and they would look up and go, a cloud of stars, and I could see the top 10. And I'd go, yeah, 1, 2, 3. And I could never see. But whenever you lack something externally, then you make up for it internally. So I have great insight. And that's why I put this program together. And we looked and we saw the moon, and the moon changed. We even built things throughout the world that are calendars. And when you look at these thousands and thousands of Stonehenges around the world that are calendars, that are exact, how did they do that? And we saw shooting stars. We saw comets. We saw rainbows. We've even seen the electrical aurora borealis. How many of you have ever seen this? It is phenomenal. It's the earth breathing. It's the life of the planet. And now, when you look at Birkeland and a lot of the scientists that are dealing with the thorn and different scientists that are dealing with the electric universe, they were all living in Scandinavia. And so they saw these electrical, they didn't know what these were, so they wanted to know, and that's how the electric universe came. But we watched lightning and what lightning can do. And we watched what happens when lightning hits something. And I want you to remember these patterns. Remember these patterns. Okay? These patterns. And that pattern. These are called Birkeland currents and Lichtenberg lines. Okay? But the same pattern exists when it hits something. The same pattern exists when it hits a human, and they live. And one of the things they found, people that are hit by a lightning and live, they have no more cancer. Energy, electricity. And that's what Tesla was using back at the turn of the century. So then they found things like these electric eels, and they actually used electric eels way back in time to do healing. They would put them on purpose, get shocks, because they knew that something about the electricity was unique. So way back at 500 BC, they knew it was the thunderbolt. It was electricity that steers the universe, not gravity. I mean, they even found, this is a battery that was found in Baghdad. And these are, they actually produced electricity. They used them for either producing electricity or electroplating. And I have some slides at the very end that, if I have time, I'll show you some of those. But I put them at the very end because they weren't part of it, but they're really unique, and I figured you want to see them. So then we looked at magnets, and we looked at these stones that started drawing things to it. And we had no idea what that was. What are these things? But now we knew about magnetism and what magnetism does and the lines of force that magnetism has. We even used magnetism for using compasses so that we knew that things that pointed north. And so magnets were used. We also now use magnets for pain, and there's magnetic therapy. There's books that have been written. There's pads and bracelets and mattress pads and necklaces, and everybody's using spot magnets for pain. We know there's a lot of studies. Baylor College of Medicine did studies on polio and post-polio pain with magnets. Japan did a lot of studies on pain management. So we know that magnets, there's pulsed magnetic fields and electromagnet pulsing, and there's the Papimi machines, and there's all kinds of big machines now that are used. We even have MRI machines that are all based on magnetism. We have levitating trains that are based on electromagnetism and how fast they can go. So magnetism is huge now. It's being used everywhere. We have bracelets. And what do the bracelets do and how magnets work? This is what's happening. It polarizes your blood. Your blood makes a completed circuit every 8.5, 9 minutes. So when you put a bracelet, your blood is going both ways. So it's going to hit that magnet, and the magnet polarizes the iron on the red blood cells, and each red blood cell then holds more oxygen. So, this got mixed up. How did that happen? This is my chart that I put on that proves evolution cannot occur. And this is hemoglobin, the red part of blood. It has a total of 19 amino acids that make up hemoglobin. Now, each of those amino acids numbers between 1 and 69. I'm sorry it somehow got over. But each amino acid numbers between 1 and 69. So the possible number of computations is 10 to the 650th power. That's 10 with 650 zeros. That is a very big number. Okay? Well, if we look at evolution, how does it work? There's mutations in the DNA. Well, how often does a mutation occur? Once a second? Once a minute? Once an hour? Once a week? How often? Well, you have to think that evolution only started really about 65 million years ago because we had a comet that knocked out 99% of the life on Earth. But if you go back to the beginning of the Earth at 4.5 billion years ago, there was a prokaryocyte. 1 second. Watch these tops, they fall off. Anyway, there was what's called a prokaryocyte. That was a one-celled animal without a nucleus. It lived for 2 billion years. It took another billion years before they got a eukaryocyte, which is a nucleus. It had a one-cell animal with a nucleus. So 2.5, 3 billion years just to make a one cell with a nucleus. So if it only happened in the last 65 million years, well, the age of the universe, this is if you go by the 13.7 billion years for the age of the universe, well, the number of seconds is only 10 to the 17th power. Well, I mean, what? Did DNA get made somewhere in space? Now, if you took, this one, I love this number. How many atoms are on this table? How many atoms do you think make up this room? Or have you ever been to the beach and you pick up sand? How many atoms is that? I mean, think of these numbers. They're unfathomable. Well, if you take all the atoms in here and on the entire planet and in the entire solar system and all the galaxies in the entire universe, you have 10 to the 66 power number of atoms. That's Now, are they telling us that hemoglobin? Oh, it was the very first try they got the right answer. So this was actually created by Watson and Crick in 1953. They discovered the DNA molecule. And according to them, it is mathematically impossible for intelligent design to have not created the DNA molecule. And this is brand new. It just came out about a month ago. We've tested meteors throughout the world that have landed on us, and we have found proteins in these meteors, different kinds of proteins. And so we now know that there are proteins that are carried on meteors throughout the universe. But we've never gotten the 4 protein nucleotides, adenine, cytosine, guanine, thymine, the 4 that make up the DNA. Well, they finally took this meteor, they've been testing this meteor for the past year. It's a very rare meteor. And it's a carbon-based, it's a pure carbon meteor. But this type of meteor is ubiquitous throughout the entire universe. And it just came out about 3 weeks ago that on this meteor, they found the 4 amino acids for DNA. It's the first time it's been found. So now, they now know that the entire universe is filled with these type of meteors that have the actual building blocks of DNA. The science is now saying, because of the ethers and things, these types of discoveries, that the universe was designed to create life. That it is actually designed that way. So anyway, let's go back now. We know about the magnetic fields on the Earth. We know about the entire magnetic field that surrounds every galaxy. This is the Milky Way galaxy, and you see these bubbles of plasma, okay, and supposedly being shot out by a black hole in the center. And again, there's no black holes. Have you ever seen, and you'll see in plasma, and I'll show that. I'll show that in another slide. But we now see these huge amounts of plasma bubbles surrounding every galaxy. We now know there's energy fields throughout the body. You go into, I studied acupuncture and energetic medicine. I'm very fortunate to have studied with Dr. Randolph Stone, polarity therapy, the originator. And so now we know there's subtle energies throughout our body. There's the same thing in the lab that we can create, and the same in space. This is the electromagnetic energy that's coming off the sun. And you can see, and they do different types of filters. But what's the difference between that electromagnetic energy and this electromagnetic energy that's from an organic mushroom or a regular mushroom? Now, science tells us that organic doesn't make any difference. But let me ask any electrician, do you think that electrical output is different? Is that going to make a difference in the food? The amount of vitality, the amount of electromagnetic energy that you're consuming? Or what about a leaf? This is Kirlian photography. And the last one and this one. This Kirlian photography, you can see this leaf was just picked, and you can see the electromagnetic energy that surrounds this leaf. But you can also see a leaf that was just picked and cut right here. It was cut in half. But here is the electromagnetic energy of the entire leaf. And this is why we can treat organs that have been removed surgically, because the energetic principle is still there. And so you can always treat the energetic principle. This is a fingertip, Kirlian photography fingertip. What's the difference between the electromagnetic energy coming off this fingertip or the sun? Only size. Here's different fingertips on different drugs. And here's the electromagnetic. I was working with Thelma Moss back in the 70s at UCLA on Kirlian photography. We were trying to figure out how to take a drop of blood, photograph it with electromagnetic using Kirlian photography, and do diagnostics with it. We were trying to see how we could diagnose through, and these are different conditions with different types of drugs. This is my fingertip. The top one was done, and I said, wait a minute, I don't like all those holes. Give me a minute. Let me redo it. I said, and I sat, and for a minute I did a couple prayers, and I just centered myself, breathed, and retook my fingertip. What does that tell you about the power of the mind, of the intention of the mind? You can change your own energy. Self-speak. What the conversation you have in your head is very important. Be careful how you speak to yourself, because you will become what you think. And when you hear words, oh, I can't do that, or oh, you have to be careful how you talk to yourself, because your brain will listen to you. It all started with Benjamin Franklin, and we're lucky he didn't get zapped when he was doing with his lightning and his, he was putting, lightning. He could have got zapped. He never did. Then you had people like Michael Faraday, and you've heard of a Faraday cage. At the very end, I'll show you some pictures of water that was done in a Faraday cage and the electromagnetic energy that comes off of that. But he's very famous in, again, electromagnetism. Of course, Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison got credit for discovering the light bulb. He didn't. It was Nikola Tesla who worked for Thomas Edison, but who gets the credit? The guy that owns the factory. And that's what happens. And they were in a big battle, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Tesla's the greatest scientist that's ever lived. They fought all the time. But this was an electric car that they had. Look at that. What is it, 1913? It would travel 1,000 miles on one charge. 1,000 miles. And we can't do electric cars now. This is a car, 1931. It was a Pierce Arrow, brand new car. Nikola Tesla and a bunch of other people, Westinghouse and General Electric. They took this car, they took the gas motor out of this car, they put an electric motor in the car. Tesla went to a local radio shop, bought 12 vacuum tubes, those are old enough to remember vacuum tubes. He put them together in 20 minutes, put it on the front seat of the car, and it attached to the electric motor, and they drove that car for 2 weeks, pulling electricity out of the air. Because Tesla always argued with Einstein. First of all, he was saying, look, Einstein, if you're telling me that space is a vacuum and has no attributes, and then you're telling me space-time bends, well, what the hell is bending? And he said, look, how do you create electricity? You take a mass, ask any electrician, you take a mass, you spin it in a magnetic field, and it produces electricity. The Earth is a pretty big mass. It spins all the time. And there's electricity throughout the air. And that's what he developed. And these systems still exist, and they are being withheld from the public because it was free energy. And the reason Edison wanted his DC current, it was very expensive, and only the rich would have got it. And Tesla said, no, this is cheap energy and can go to the whole world. And that's why alternating current finally won out. This car, they still have this car. They still know, but they refuse to release it. Now think of it. You've all tested, you've gotten shocks because of static electricity. There's a lot of electricity in the air, and we have free electricity as long as the Earth spins. So I don't think we would, but they're withholding it. Except for now. This came out just in 2009, I think it was. And it was the research could pave the way for turning electricity from the atmosphere into alternating energy resource of the future. This was done by Tesla. They're finally coming back to his principles, his experiments. And you can see here's Tesla playing underneath giant millions of volts of electricity, but there's no amperage, so there's no danger. You're not getting zapped. Okay. Now we use electricity. This is a huge electrical voltage current run through either glass or plexiglass, and it leaves that pattern. Remember that pattern? All electricity makes this pattern. Everything that's electromagnetic makes this pattern. And everything in the universe is electromagnetic. We now see these in gift shops all over you go to expensive gift shops, you can see these. This is made with electricity. This is the pattern of electricity. And what's the difference between that and a tree? Now, all we care about is how electricity is delivered. We have lighthouses, and that was very important. This is electricity from space. This is what our planet, our United States looks like. And that's one of the problems. There's no darkness anymore. And without darkness, you don't produce melatonin. And one of the reasons that I think cancer has increased so dramatically is because there's not enough darkness. Your brain produces melatonin when it's dark. For women, melatonin is one of the strongest known anti-breast cancers known. Any woman over 45 should be taking melatonin. Don't listen to these shows that tell you, it's not good. It's very good. There's no known toxicity. For men, it's one of the strongest anti-stomach cancers. So melatonin is great, and it helps you sleep. This is El Paso, Texas, where I live, seen from space. So, of course, had to put that on there. And it all started with Isaac Newton. Poof! An apple falls on his head. He creates the theory of gravity, and there we are. And poof! That's how all of science goes. And, of course, Albert Einstein took it. It's gravity that rules the universe. And because there's a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. That's an imbecilic statement. First of all, they have never proven gravity, let alone to say gravity rules the universe. It's all assumption. That statement in grammar is a nonsensical statement. It cannot be proven. Okay, this is what we know about gravity. And we know things like this. Okay, that, by the way, that building's been popped up so it won't fall over. Okay, but that's what we know about gravity. This was another book from Hawking. And this is what he said, because this is mathematics, remember. So again, when they're looking at energy and matter, when you put all of the energy and matter of the cosmos into a pie and divvy divvy it up. The result is shocking. All of the galaxy, stars, planets, comets, and asteroids, dust, gas, and particles account for only 4% of the known universe. Most of what we call matter, about 23% of the universe, is invisible to human eyes and instruments. It's called dark matter. How do you know it exists? Because we can't find it. Okay? Dark matter, and how do you know dark energy exists? Because they can't measure it. So that obviously means it exists. So the whole aspect of it, once you plug in electromagnetic energy, then all of this disappears. There is no dark matter. There is no dark energy. There is no expansion of the universe. And there is no Big Bang. And the universe is infinite, and it's infinitely old. This is Hawking getting to play with his gravity. Okay? And then you had people that to this day write reports and books, and just like in medicine, in dental medicine, I'm sure there's people writing articles that mercury is perfectly okay. And they get paid to write those articles. It's the same way we have articles that the universe and cosmos. I love cosmos, remember? Billions and billions of stars. And again, they write it. Scientists argue that the Michelson and Morley experiment in 1884 proved scientifically that space is empty. It's an empty vacuum, and there is no such thing as the ethers. And that was Einstein. And then they came up with all their mathematical formulas that run the universe. Only problem is they get the math wrong. Okay? Since the mathematicians have invaded the theory of relativity, I do not understand it myself anymore. Okay, because statistics in math, you know what happens. Okay, today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relationship to reality. But it controls people. What would happen with free electricity for the world? How would that be? We can't have that. We have to control populations. And every government in the world wants to do that. They control their population. And this one, by the way, is great. This new with the Ebola. You know why there's so much Ebola in Africa? They don't have clean water. They live in sewage. They drink sewage. They wash their clothes in sewage. They wash their food in sewage. They have no paved streets. It's no hygiene. Why do people in the United States not get sick? We have hygiene. And what happened in the 40s? We had septic systems and laws that you had to clean water in every municipality. So polio disappeared. Not because of the vaccine, because of hardware stores and leach lines and septic systems. And washing machines and dryers. I mean, come on. And hot water. Every single one of us can turn hot water on. Go to Sierra Leone. There's no hot water. You go into the hospital and you see the doctor wearing an apron that looks like a butcher's apron with blood all over it. They wipe their hands and then they go, there's no hygiene. Anyway, Nikolai, you know him. He's alternating current and electric and subways and the radio. And by the way, he discovered radio waves, not Marconi in 1943. The Supreme Court overturned the patent and gave it back to Tesla, even though he was already died. And then Star Trek, all of the stuff you see from Star Trek, all came from Tesla's technology. Remember the first phone, the flip phone, and it made that little noise? That was modeled after Star Trek, the tricorder and the communicator. They did that because everybody was familiar with it. Okay, and now there's all kinds of books written on plasma. I don't want to go through all those, but Princeton University is doing huge research. This is the plasma laboratory in Princeton University. Okay, and they're making plasma. And this is a plasma gun, or a plasma. These are two electrodes. This is a fire. This is plasma. And there's no wind here. You can put your hand right between this. There's no wind. There's only electrons moving from one direction to this, from here to here. Plasma always follows electrical currents. And you'll see this. Now we produce plasma. You've seen these Tesla coils. You can get them in a gift shop. You can put your hands on it, and it makes your hair stand up. Okay, this is Tesla, and I want you to see this. This is a Tesla coil, and this is the electrical charge that comes off of a Tesla coil. And all electrical charges are in a helix. All lightning. When you see lightning, it looks like a single lightning. No, it isn't. It's a helix. It's a DNA. Electricity is in the same shape of DNA. And this is photographed in space. This is made in a laboratory. This is in space. Millions of light years long. It's the same electromagnetism. We can view these in space. Everything about electric universe and the electric cosmology can be proven in a laboratory. Everything I say has been proven. And this is how electricity occurs. And this is called the pinch effect, each place. And you'll see, this is photographed in space. This is what is this? It's photographed by Hubble. What is all of this? Other than energy, we know it's electromagnetic energy. It's gases and all kinds of things. But it's certainly not a vacuum and empty. What is this? This is photographed in space. Looks like a Brillo pad of some kind or something. I mean, look at the electromagnetic energy. This is 1,000 light years across. I mean, what is producing that? What is making that? If the universe is filled with these kinds of energies. This came off the sun. This is a huge volcano. It's about 100,000 miles long. And it's a tornado of electricity. It's electromagnetic energy. But what's the difference between that, which was in space, and this, which is on Earth? It's still plasma. It's still the same. And it still circles around each other in the same, it winds around as a double helix. So now, where does plasma come from? We know that plasma is everywhere, and you can see it, lightning, sun, flame, all of that. But see this? This is plasma produced in a laboratory at Princeton. These are rock art throughout the world. Did they know about plasma? Are they attempting to tell us something of what runs the universe that we're not paying attention to? These are all around the world. So, we've created a universe in a glass jar. This is how it looks. We've created these. Here is this is how it works. This is created in Princeton laboratory. 2 balls of plasma shot from a plasma gun. They interact with each other. So every shape of every galaxy in the universe we can duplicate with plasma. It's not gravity that is doing that. It is electromagnetic energy and electrical charge that does that. Just like in the human body, everything is electrical. And this is photographed in space, and this is created in a laboratory. This is a plasma gun. This is looking down, a high-intensity plasma gun. Each one of these are little electrodes where it shoots out the electromagnetic energy and it explodes at the ends. What's the difference? That you'll see, these are the Tesla coils, and you can buy these in at a gift shop. This is what happens when you hold a big one and it puts electricity. Again, there's very low amperage, it's high voltage. Okay. But then you have a laboratory, space. A laboratory, space. What's the difference? Only size. This is a plasma ball created in a laboratory. This is pure plasma shell. We're creating all kinds of them. This is created in a laboratory, and each of the colors represent a different gas, a different ion from a gas. This is Hubble, and this is what we're now photographing in space. We are photographing the same type of plasma shapes throughout the universe that we're creating in a laboratory. What does this prove? It proves that the universe is not based on gravity. It proves that the universe is not a vacuum. It proves that the universe is filled with electromagnetic energy and plasma. So those two premises already destroy Hawking. This, again, is a galaxy. Einstein said that space has no attributes. What is this? What is making those rings? You drop a pebble in a pond and you get the rings that go out to the edge of the pond. Well, is that any different? You have giant clouds of these are huge, thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions of light years. This is where stars are born. And they're wonderful. When you look at these and you see what's out in the universe, it's overwhelming. It is profound. You look at these things and you don't know what to think. This is where we're now finding the ethers. And to me, this looked like Pegasus. It looked like a bird flying. And I even made it so it looked like that. This is plasma. This is the ethers now that we're looking at, that are even higher frequency. It's the basic matrix of the universe. These are photographed in space. What is making these patterns if the universe is a vacuum? This is photographed in space. Are these phenomenal? To me, it's an eyeball. It looks like an eye. And here's an eye. And this is photographed in space. This is photographed. It looks, again, it's an eye. This is photographed in space. To me, it was so profound that I'm a changed person doing this. This is the eye of a cat. This is the Cat's Eye Nebula. What is the difference other than size? Everything has the same pattern of electromagnetic energy. How did those laws get put in place? This is called the eye of God, and it's an actual exploding star. But it looks like that eye. Now look at this. This is Galaxy NGC 3079. Look at this huge. Look at this little section right here. How much energy? That's lightning. It's the same as lightning. How much energy is that? That's a huge galaxy. How much power is just in that? What's the difference between that and what's on the Earth itself other than size again? What time is it? Thank you. So, yeah, I know it does. Actually, size doesn't matter because it's all the same. From my point of view, I guess. Depends which guys you're talking to. But we know now that the entire universe is electrical. And now we know there's magnetism and static electricity and currents and circuits and magnetic fields and electromagnetic fields and motors and generators. It all comes from Tesla. But it's how electricity switched on the world. So we now know about the ethers. We know that the Earth, that the universe is not ruled by gravity and that the universe is not a vacuum. And now we go into the speed of light, because Tesla versus Einstein. We know that the speed of light is 186,200 miles per hour. Okay, that's pretty fast. What is 1 light second? Think of light, takes 8+ minutes to come from the Earth. So 1 light second equals 7.5 revolutions around the Earth's equator. Our Earth's about 25,000 miles, so think of that. 1 light year equals 240 million revolutions around the planet Earth, or 6 trillion miles. When you start looking at distances, and I left that out of this one, but distances are outrageous when you start looking. But we know about the sound barrier. These are pictures of breaking the sound barrier exactly at that moment. Well, faster than light, we can't have that. We know that it's controversial, but according to special relativity, anything that could travel faster than light would move backward in time. Well, again, let's look. Alton Harp, 28 years on Mount Wilson, and he photographed this. Now, I left out all the slides that's in the main presentation about redshift and how you determine speed and how you determine distance from stars, but I don't have time for all of that, so I'm just putting this here because Alton Harp changed the understanding of the redshift and blue shift. And you know what I mean by that? When you hear a train coming towards you, it sounds one way, and then as it leaves you, it sounds another. As it's coming towards you, it's the blue shift. As it's going away from you, it's the red shift. And you hear the sound change. So that's how they used to deal with distances. But look at this here. Would you say that this piece through this plasma bridge is part of this? Would you say that they're connected in the same location in space? It's okay to speak up. Yeah, possibly. Okay, here it is. And here's another filter that Hubble used. Okay, so we look at these things. And we ask ourselves, are these all part of the same system? Are they in close proximity to each other? Anybody looking at this would see, when you look at, again, another filter that's been used, you see that all of these are connected through this huge plasma cloud. That all of these. Now, when you look at... when you look at regular science, according to cosmology, this and this are not part of this system. It's supposedly an optical illusion, and this is supposed to really be 10 million light years farther away because the redshift was not correct. When they measured the redshift of this and the redshift of that, it's different than this. And this whole plasma and this have different redshifts. Well, then, according to the redshift philosophy, theory, then they have to be at different places in the universe. Instead of looking at what we see and using empirical evidence to say, look, this is obviously part of this system and so is this, we have to adjust our understanding of the redshift, not say that this is an optical illusion. This is Galaxy M82. And what does that say? It's moving 4 times the speed of light. This is what it looks like. And it's in a chase. This is Galaxy M81, the Andromeda Galaxy, chasing M82. This is moving. And this galaxies eat other galaxies. It's like food. So this galaxy is chasing this one. This one's trying to get away and moving 4 times the speed of light. But what do we know now? So that's the speed of light. Again, there's a lot on the tape that's available that really goes into it, but now this is about pulsars. Pulsars are supposedly like a lighthouse. The star is spinning, correct? And each time it spins, we see that pulse of radiation. Okay, so this is a pulsar. Now, they found all kinds of pulsars. Our sun spins once every 25 days. The Earth spins every 24 hours, but the sun takes 25 days to spin around one time on its axis. Now, remember, a pulsar is a spinning sun. So what happened? They started photographing pulsars, not 10,000 times bigger than our sun. Not spinning once every 25 days, spinning once every 3 seconds. Now, think of this. I'm saying there's a sun 10,000 times bigger than our sun. It's not taking 25 days to spin once on its axis. It's spinning every 3 seconds. Have you ever been on a merry-go-round? What happens when you start spinning faster and faster? And it's okay to speak up. What happens? Centrifugal force throws you where? Out. Now think of a sun 10,000 times bigger than our sun, spinning once every 3 seconds. What would happen to the mass of that sun? It would be thrown out into space. Well, mathematics says, it's not doing that. So we went back to the mathematical drawing board and we came up with supergravity. And somehow supergravity makes the mass of the sun hold together, and so it's fine and it doesn't come apart. Okay? And this is the one I took the other ones out. This pulsar, though, that they happen to catch, is not spinning once every 3 seconds. This pulsar spins 400 times a second. Now think of a star 10,000, 100,000 times bigger than our sun. Our sun takes 25 days. You're telling me that this sun is spinning on its axis 10,000 times bigger than our sun, 400 times a second? How fast does a dentist drill? 300 times a second. We hate that sound. Can you not get rid of that sound? Okay. But think of what would the mass of a star that big spinning 400 times a second on its axis? Centrifugal force again. Well, now they said, this can't be. So they went back to the mathematical drawing board and they came up with supergravity. I mean, a child can know that this is insane. Supergravity, and somehow the nucleus and the neutrons, they stick together somehow, but according to the laws of thermodynamics, neutrons repel each other. So it's counteracting thermodynamics. Then this one was photographed at the University of Texas, Brownsville, radio waves traveling faster than the speed of light. They're measuring this all over the world. And this is this is supposed to be a black hole. And the black holes, according to Hawking, nothing escaped the black hole. Except then they started seeing these that come off every single galaxy. But if you go to any go to Princeton, anything, if you take a huge amount of electricity, then what's happening? It's spinning, just like a tornado. And it's spinning to the center. And the center is where the electricity is going. And that big ball of light you see in the center of every galaxy is because that's where all the electricity is. And the same as any capacitor, when the electricity builds up too high, it discharges, and it always discharges perpendicular to the plane of the elliptic. This is discharged electricity. It's not a spinning star or sun. It's a strobe light. Have you ever used a strobe light? And with a rheostat, you can do what to the strobe light? You can put it as fast or as slow as you want. A strobe that's blinking. You can blink it 400 times a second. You can blink it once every 3 seconds, or you can have it blink once every 25 days. It's a strobe. It's electricity. And when you look at a tornado, what's in the center of a tornado? What? But what's there? Loud. Nothing. It's empty. Correct? Where is the safest place in a tornado? Right in the very center. So at the center of every galaxy is the same as any tornado. It's empty. And because they can't see anything, it's a black hole. No, it isn't. It's the center of a tornado. And around that, the wall of that is pure electricity. And it builds up a certain charge. It discharges. Again, always perpendicular to the plane of the elliptic. So this, by the way, came out 2 months ago, and I had to add this. Because this was I just put this in. Hawking finally has come out and said, I was wrong. There are no black holes. he changes his mind. Well, I've been saying this for 15 years, and so has other cosmologists and other physicists. But he's at least finally changing. This is unique. This is Messer 9. This is when you look at our Milky Way. This is one teeny tiny little spot. And here's what it is. This is Hubble going in to one little tiny little spot. It's what? I could barely hear. Oh, thank you. One little tiny little spot in the Milky Way. It keeps going until that one teeny tiny little spot has millions of stars. I'm fascinated. I'm overwhelmed when I do things like this because it's so profound. The numbers and what you see, and it's profound. So this is the ethers in the matrix. This is what happens. It starts very high frequency, and the frequency steps down and crystallizes into matter. It's frequency, the way I mean, you all know what water is. When you lower the frequency of water, it turns to ice. When you raise the frequency of water, it turns to steam. And when you raise the temperature of steam, it turns to plasma. This is what it looks like. This is the ethers. This is the electromagnetic energy that makes up the entire universe. And these are the strings of matter throughout the universe, an electromagnetic energy that binds everything in the universe together. So what happened? And Einstein in 1916 changed his mind and said, there is the ether. And the problem is, he said that if they discover the ethers, then my relativity is wrong. But the thing is, as a physicist, you cannot go against Einstein or Hawking in any university in the world. You will lose your tenure, and you will lose your time at any telescope. So think of it. I maintain that the PhD graduate system in the United States is a farce. It does not produce creativity. It does not produce anything that is imaginative. You must produce what that professor wants. And if you don't agree with the professor, you don't graduate. And if you come up with some new theory that professor doesn't, I'm sorry, it's not. Our PhD system is not for creativity. It's for uniformity. But anyway, we now know what the ethers are. This is photographed in space by Hubble. And this is millions of light years long. But this is in your brain. It's the same kind of structure. And it's the same kind of electricity. This is photographed in space. This is in your brain. These are pathways of the nerves. This is laminin. This is a new connective tissue that was found out about that binds every cell in the entire body together. It allows every cell to communicate with every other cell. And it uses sugars. There's 8 essential sugars. And every cell in the body, every tissue is surrounded by these 8 essential sugars that allow cells to communicate with each other all over the body. But what's unique is the molecular structure. This is what binds all of humans together. And this is the shape of the molecule, of the molecular structure of the tissue that holds us together. This is the Whirlpool galaxy in space. And it's just a message. This is in the brain. That's photographed in space. Is that profound? What does it mean? I mean, think of that. Think of this energy. The only difference is the amount of electromagnetic energy. That's the only difference. This is how your blood vessels are produced. It's again, you look at these patterns. You're going to see patterns the same everywhere. These are your blood vessels. This is inflammation in the blood. This is from my microscope system. This is fibrin, spicule formation. This is the pattern when you know there's an inflammatory complex going on in the body. I don't have to do a CRP. I could take a drop of blood and look at this, and if I see that pattern, and remember, it looks haphazard. This is the pattern. This is fibrin, and it's trying to knit something. But again, the patterns are the same, whether it's electricity, whether it's lamellin, whether it's inflammation, or whether it's mucus in your nose. This is mucus. It's the same kind of patterns. This is a stem cell. And look at the pattern of the stem cell. This makes all other cells in the human body. This is a breast cancer cell. They're so similar. And this is from the CERN laboratory in Switzerland, 2 protons that have been slammed together. What's the difference? Only size. So we now know that plasma rules the universe. Plasma is everywhere. And this is what Nikola Tesla and Einstein finally agreed upon. We are surrounded by a sea of energy, as invisible, boundless, and in perfect order. Everything is energy, molecules, pathology, prescription medicines, even emotional. Each cell pulses electrically and emanates electromagnetic fields. The human body is an energetic system composed of energetic subsystems. Disease is caused by energetic imbalances. Therefore, health can be restored by balancing one's energies. And when we started the show, someone was talking about that while I was outside getting another thing of coffee. I came in and I heard all about, we know that we're all energy. Funny thing, so does Einstein and Tesla. Now, we know that in Ayurvedic medicine, and this is the chakra systems, and you know these are electromagnetic, and the chakras are the energetic systems. Now, when you translate that to human physiology, the chakras, if you look at the spine, there's 7 nerve plexuses. And those 7 nerve plexuses also go to the 7 endocrine glands. But there is a vortex of energy that surrounds those nerve plexuses. And those are the chakra systems. So you don't have to talk about chakras. You can talk about the nerve plexus along the spine, that electromagnetic vortex that surrounds that chakra system. So Ayurvedic medicine knew about it. So did Egyptian Hermetics. So did ancient Chinese acupuncture. So did the American Indians. They all knew about energy and spirit and different energies. So did the Aborigine Indians in Australia. And so did the Brazilians and all of them. They all used energies and prayers and meditations. And they all used herbs. And what did they know about all herbs from all over every single continent? Is that that's medicine from God. If you trace the history of medicine, and you trace it on every single continent, and you trace, I don't care if it's Egyptian, Roman, Greek, Irish, Chinese, Indian, when you trace where did medicine come from? So let me ask you, as a dentist, how do you learn dentistry? By somebody. By another someone that learned it from someone before them and learned it from someone before them, correct? How does a surgeon learn to do surgery? Watch and do. Well, if you trace back all the way to every single continent and you ask the priests, Where did your medicine come from? Where did your surgical techniques come from? They will tell you on every continent it came from God, fully intact. And when you look at Egyptian papyrus, and you'll see that, read about a leg transplant that the gods did on one of the pharaohs. And that leg was better than his real leg. It was electrical, and it could move and do everything. There's brain surgeries and eye surgeries, and there's tools that are thousands of years old. Where did it come from? They all tell us it came from God. So one thing about every system of God we know, nature, energy, spirit, it comes from God. Whether it's Chinese, Indian, naturopathic, Egyptian, Hermetic, it doesn't matter. Or you can do this kind, AMA medicine. And that's based on allopathic, that everything is structure function, and if you have it broken, burned, torn, and you have all of these, that's what causes all disease. No energy. And so this is what it produced. Okay, but this is what we have finally from Einstein. Now Hawking disagrees, but science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. A legitimate conflict between science and religion cannot exist. So God versus science. We come all the way back, and this is the scientific definition of the word God. It cannot be refuted. It has to be in exactly this order, and each word is very specific. We know that creation exists. It's either an optical illusion, and I'm not really here and nobody's here, or creation exists. The problem with that is it does not imply identity. It does not imply cohesiveness. It does not imply anything. It only means creation. It could be chaos. So once creation occurred, another set of laws had to be created that constitutes this creation, that gives a name to each particle, electrons, protons, and neutrons. And each of those particles now exist, and they are given an identity. But another set of laws had to be put in place that controls the movement of those particles, so that the movement of those particles can create everything around us and us. And those laws are inviolate. Another set of laws had to be created that sustains it all. It's not just creation and not just identity, but it's governing that identity and it's sustaining the universe. And the last is that it contains all. So the scientific definition of God is that which creates, constitutes, governs, sustains, and contains all. Isn't that a good definition? Now, in science, we're not allowed to talk about God. We're allowed to talk about principles. So we're trying to find the singularity. What was the singularity principle of creation? And then we needed to know what was the principles of laws, how did they get in that gave identity? And what set of laws gave the movement to that identity? See, these are all principles studied in science. But if you change the word principle and just put God, God is that which creates, constitutes, governs, contains, sustains, and contains all. So what do we know? It's in your hands. And it's like an iceberg. We're just discovering the surface. But things like this appear to give us insight and to help us along the way. Even pets know. Even our children know. And even the little baby knows. Don't keep your head in the sand. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying. And can you have a tremendous victory without a struggle? Isn't it always a struggle? And it's not about where you're going. It's about what you leave behind. So that's it. But now, I'm done, but I added just some quickies. These are my hair. Okay, it's really, we have about 10 minutes, so perfect. It all started with a journey. And this is the Voyager journey. It's now out of our solar system. Think of that. The Voyager 1 and 2 are now out of our solar system. But our journey started, these are galaxies. To me, they look like sperm. Where are they going? These are galaxies going somewhere. And this is a galaxy. To me, it looked like an egg. It's like the sperm is fertilizing a galaxy. Well, we started in the same kind of journey. And how I do a whole lecture at the university on the psychology of man based on understanding the antibody structure of egg and sperm. Because all of psychology can be determined by egg and sperm. So when you go back and here's all the sperm, what do they know? They know one thing: death awaits them. When they get ejaculated into the woman, 500, 400 million sperm, within 3 seconds, half of them die. So that's what they know. Now, it used to be, how do they know where to go? How do they all line up at the exact same time in the exact same direction? How do they know that? Because the egg is sending out a signal. It's an electromagnetic signal, and it's carried on mucus that's very high in sugar. So she's sending out a sweet, sugary trail to entice him. And that's why we go that direction. It's not our fault she enticed me. It was not really. Okay? But then, we used to think it was the single sperm that made it. The strongest single sperm that made it to the egg. No, it's not true. We now know there's different kinds. There's trailblazer sperms. They blaze a trail up through the mucus, and they die. Then there's other sperm that come and hop over it and piggyback over it, and they make more of a trail and they die. And there's this brotherhood of sperm, like there's a brotherhood of man, and they know that they have to help each other to get to that egg or nobody makes it. So that's what they do. But they only know one thing: death awaits them. So how does the sperm know it gets to where it's going? It wants to get to this egg. That egg looks just like the same kind of a galaxy forming. Oh, wait, I took out the other slides. There was another slide that shows a bunch of sperm on the egg. That's on the main one. And what do we know? How does the sperm know it gets there? Because it bumps its head against the egg. It reaches a brick wall and bumps its head. And what are men doing all the time? We're going around bumping our heads against the wall. We know we got someplace to go. We don't have any idea where we're going, but we got someplace to go. We have a journey to take. How do we know we get there? Because we bumped up against the wall. And so what happens? The egg, she sends out signals. And now, how is it that women and men speak so differently? Do you know that the average woman speaks 40 words to the man's 1? And that's because eggs... Yes. Eggs are in constant chemical contact throughout their entire lives when the eggs are developed, when she's still a fetus. And those eggs are on both sides, but only about 100 on either side ever get going anywhere. And so she is in constant communication to the other eggs. Sperm never see another sperm until they are ejaculated. And one sperm is always held and protected by a nurse aid. So all individual sperm are protected by a nurse. So what do we know? Behind all great men is a woman, and behind all failed men are 2 women. And we all come out like this, and we're individual. It's electromagnetic. This I want to go through in 2 minutes. This is Masaru Emoto. He's a physicist. We graduated from the same university. He's a colleague. He wanted to know about water. If you take water from around the world, bring it back to Japan, freeze it, and put it under a microscope and look at it, would the water be different? So this is spring from water from Japan. This is another spring in Japan. This is from the Antarctic. This is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This is from a polluted lake in the center of Japan. This is another Yado River in Japan, polluted. Look at the structures of those molecules. This is the Fujiwara Dam. All of this water feeds Tokyo. What kind of crystal structure is that? Terrible. So we wanted to know what would happen if you brought a Zen monk into this room. It's a Faraday cage, electromagnetically sealed, so nothing can affect the water in that area. And he brought a Zen monk and he prayed over the beaker of water. Now, what would happen to that crystal? Do you think it changed just by having a Zen monk pray over it? Would it change that polluted water? There's the new crystal after a Zen monk prayed over it. And to me, that even looked like a Buddha or something sitting in the center of it. How did it know that? Then, this was sent to a Christian prayer group that did remote prayers. And he said, well, gosh, if a Zen monk could do that, what if we gave the prayer and said to the Christian prayer group that does remote prayer, pray over this water. Well, again, it's in a Faraday cage, so there's no electromagnetic interference. That's the new crystal. Then he said, well, wait a minute. What if we took one of those new frequency machines, like a Rife machine, and sent immune vibrations to the water? That's the new crystal. Then he said, wait a minute. What if we take distilled water, put it in a beaker, and put 2 speakers on either side, and play different kinds of music to the distilled water? Now, your blood is a liquid crystal. So remember this. This is Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony. This is Bach's Air for G string. This is a Tibetan sutra. This is a Kawachi folk dance, Japanese. This is heavy metal music. What kind of crystals? These are rap and heavy metal. You should see all the crystal structure. Your blood is a liquid crystal. What are the children doing listening to this kind of music? What does it do to their own vibration? Then he said, wait a minute, this is real strange. What if we take this distilled water, and you know those stickers that you peel off, that you type the name of your patients and you put it on the file? Those little stickers? Okay. So what if we typed or wrote different names on those stickers, taped it to the distilled water, let it sit overnight, take a drop and rephotograph it? This is the words love and appreciation. This is the words love plus gratitude. This is thank you in Japanese, thank you, arigato, and thank you in English. This is the word soul. Now turn this up 45 degrees. What shape is that? How did the word soul know to put the heart on there? This is the word, you make me sick, I will kill you. To me, it even looked like a little man getting shot or something. This is the word Adolf Hitler. This is the word Mother Teresa. And this was an experiment he did with rice. He sterilized both beakers, cooked the rice, put them into the beakers. On this one he wrote, I love you. And on that one he wrote, I hate you. Every day for 30 days he'd go into the room. He would open this one, take out one grain of rice, eat it, and talk to it and say, you're the best tasting, sweetest rice. We can't wait to eat you. We all love you. To this one, he said, I hate you. You're nasty, smelly, rotten, stinky. No one's ever going to eat you. That's after 30 days. Who prays over their food anymore? What does it mean in your mind when you eat? How are you accepting each mouthful, morsel of nutrients? And this is a piece of bread. And this was with Thelma Moss again. This is an electromagnetic Carillion photography. And we were in L.A. We brought an American Indian shaman medicine man in. We had him touch the piece of bread like that. Lift his hand. That's the new piece of bread. That's the energetic principle of him touching it. This was his hands. So, this I added just at the end, just because we're not being told the truth. This is in Abydos, Egypt. It's a big temple. Here's the entrance to the temple, last 2 slides. And this are the columns that hold up the temple. This is from the roof. It fell. But this is a big relief above the door. So you're looking at a big relief above the door. It's 4,000 years old. This is a close-up of it. What is that? What is this? And this? This, to me, looked like a hovercraft. You know, from Star Wars. Is that where he got the shape? That looks like a plane. That looks like a submarine. That certainly is a Black Hawk helicopter. These are 4,000 years old. Who made them? Oh, it's a Fig Newton of our imagination. This is in the a special pyramid of light. And when you look at the Great Pyramids, if you go inside the pyramid, they've done all kinds of studies. There is not one molecular residue of smoke anywhere in the Great Pyramids. How did they build that in the dark? Well, this is the other pyramid, and this is what they found. And UCLA and other universities, this is what it is. It's a big giant light bulb. And only the priests can go in there. I'm done. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It was wonderful. So I get my stuff in here, and there you are.
That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And we have a small gift for you.
Oh. Yeah, don't leave. Can I just pull the thing out, or do you have to? Huh? Great.
We have a small